Welcome. Today we're going to look at simplifying two rational expressions. More specifically, we're going to subtract these two rational expressions. Okay, so go ahead and get your notes out and we'll get going. Remember to pause the video if you fall behind or rewind it and listen to it again if you didn't quite get something the first time. All right, in order to subtract any fractions or polynomial fractions, the first thing we have to do is make sure we have a common denominator. Looking at our two denominators, we can see they're not the same. So that's going to be our first step, rewriting our fractions with a common denominator. So the first thing we need to do is factor. So let's start with the left side and factor. I notice it has a common factor of 6. I'm going to go ahead and pull a 6 out. That's going to leave me with an x squared plus x minus 2. Now the leftover in the parenthesis, I can see it has 3 terms. The leading coefficient is 1. So this is a quick, easy factor. I know my first term will be x and x, because x times x is x squared. And all I need now is a factor of negative 2 that add up to positive 1, the middle term. That's going to be plus 2 minus 1. And that is my denominator in factored form. So I'm going to go ahead and cross out those two because I'm going to use that denominator now. Doing the same thing to the other side, it has a common factor of 4. So it leaves me with an x squared plus 4x plus 4. I can see, again, the leading coefficient is 1. So my first terms will be x and x. And our last term will be the factors of 4 that add up to the middle term 4, which is 2 and 2. Now these are common factors, so I'm going to rewrite them using powers. So this is x plus 2 squared. So I've factored both denominators, and again I'm going to cross this out so we don't get confused by it. And now I'm going to use these factors to find our least common denominator. So let's kind of shrink this up. Oops, it jumped on me. Put it back over here. Just going to have to deal with the red line. That's okay, we can still see what we're doing. Let's go back and find our least common denominators, our LCD. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to put each factor in its own column. Now I'm going to start with the numbers. On the left side I have a 6. The right side I have a 4. Column number 1. Column number 2. On the left side I have an x plus 2. And on the right side I have an x plus 2, but it's squared. So we'll put it in that column because the expressions match other than the exponents. And then finally on the left side I have an x minus 1. And on the right side I don't have an x minus 1. So I'll leave that blank. Then I'm going to go through and go piece by piece, column by column. 6 and 4 have a least common denominator of 12. Those are the numbers, those are the ones we know how to do. I go to the x plus 2 column. And since they have matching expressions, take the 1 to the highest power. So this would be x plus 2 squared. And then I'm going to go to the x minus 1 column. Bring it down. Even though there's none here, it still needs to be represented in our LCD. So our new least common denominator is 12 times x plus 2 squared times x minus 1. Okay, let's go apply this now. So I'm going to shrink this up a little bit, put it in the corner. Bring this one back. And again, sorry about the red line through it. And let's go ahead and just rewrite that problem now. Right, so the numerator we have 4x all over 6 times x plus 2 times x minus 1 minus x plus 1 over 4 times x plus 2 squared. Okay, as I look at my denominators and my least common denominator up here in the right corner, I'm going to see what I have and then see what I'm missing. Whatever I'm missing, I'm going to multiply both top and bottom, numerator, denominator, by the missing terms. So here we go. Alright, my least common denominator has a 12, I've got a 6. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to multiply both top and bottom by 2. I also notice it has 1x plus 2, and I need 2. So I'm going to have to multiply it by the missing x plus 2. So that would leave us with 2, and I'm going to go ahead and distribute the 2 through. 2x plus 4 times the original 4x all over 12 times x plus 2 squared times x minus 1. Okay, doing the same technique to the other side, I'll start with the 4, and it needs to be 12, so I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 3. I have x plus 2 squared, I have one of those already, so all I need is the x minus 1. Alright, so that means our new numerator, and I'm going to go ahead and distribute, is the original x plus 1 times 3x minus 3 over a common denominator of 12 times x plus 2 squared times x minus 1. Okay, now we're ready to, now that we've rewritten the numerators over the new common denominator, it's just about simplifying the numerator and then subtracting. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to make some more room. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go back to my red pen. Alright, so simplifying the numerator first, I'm going to go ahead and distribute. So 2 times 4x would be 8x plus 16x. The other numerator, remember this is subtraction, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in parentheses so I don't forget to distribute through the negative. This is going to be 3x squared minus 3x plus 3x minus 3. And that is all over 12 times x plus 2 squared x minus 1. Alright, so all I have to do now is combine my like terms and distribute. And I also noticed just now I forgot the squared on my first x. I'm going to go add that back in. So with a quick distribute of the negatives, he becomes positive, he becomes negative, positive, negative, positive. Okay, I also notice in the middle these two terms will cross out, so I'm going to go ahead and cross them out. And it's just a matter of simplifying. 8x squared minus 3x squared is going to be 5x squared. So I've taken care of this one and this one. Plus 16x. No x's on the right side. And no numbers on this side, so simply the plus 3. Alright, we've now simplified our numerator by just distributing through the negative and adding our like terms together. Remember, it's over our common denominator of x plus 2 squared times x minus 1. Okay. That is how we add and subtract videos. The key again is finding the LCD, which means we need to factor. Once we find the missing factors, we multiply both numerator and denominator by those missing factors for each expression. And lastly, remember to distribute through your negative and just combine your numerators. All right, if you have any questions, please write them down and I will answer them in class. Thank you. And I can see